to show you some of the settings and some of the settings that I have for my picture. If you press the settings button, you get the quick settings, which you can change picture mode, aspect ratio, sound, set sleep timer, or network. But you can go to all settings, and that's where you get into the really deep settings, all the different things you can do. As you see, you have picture mode, and you have lots of different options here. If you pick this, all these different things. Expert, dark room, and or cinema are the two that I tend to stick to the most myself. AI picture I've turned off. Right now I have hints on, and you see when you have hints on, it'll explain what something is. And if you want it. I might turn this on a little at some point and see if I like it or not, but generally right now I'm doing it without it, and because this is new to me, and so I might try it with it after a while, see if I think it's better. But you got your OLED light. This is a way to, this is different, this is brightness, but this is brightness based on the light that is being emitted from the OLEDs, as opposed to brightness. Brightness actually changes the brightness of a picture the same way you can do on your phone a picture you took. So this actually influences the actual movie or TV show picture, whereas this is just increasing the brightness of the actual TV itself. So you generally don't want to do a whole lot with this brightness. It's better to keep it in the middle. But the OLED light, you probably do want to increase it to around, I think 80 is good, but depending on your conditions, if you're in a constantly extremely bright room, then you might want to go up a little bit higher. You can see contrast I have at 90, sharpness 10, color 50, tint 0. Then you have the expert controls. Dynamic contrast I have off, super resolution I have off, color gamut I have auto, gamma 2.2. There's just so many different things you can control here. Color management, I didn't change anything with that. Peak brightness, I have that off. White balance, I just left that basically as it comes. I believe it comes set to warm too, which I think is the most recommended. So that's those things. Then you have picture options. Noise reduction, I put low because I don't like to have a lot of influence on that picture. A little bit maybe if it's coming from cable, but generally speaking I don't want to have a lot. If they start to mess with the picture, then it can mess things up. And I've found these settings to be really good. So you can see MPEG noise reduction completely off, smooth gradation completely off, black level I like to have that low. Real cinema on, and that gives it optimizes things for movies, and most of the stuff I watch is movies or TV shows that are movie-esque. Motion eye care, I definitely have that off. I highly recommend you turn that one off, as well as more than anything else, turn True Motion off. True Motion is what gives movies and TV shows that looks like they were filmed with a cheap handheld video recorder. Tom Cruise and a big director made a huge public announcement video about this, and how it makes movies not look like movies. It makes TV shows not look like what they're supposed to look like. But a lot of people are used to it because every manufacturer ships with some version of this, always by default turned on. You have to go in and turn it off. And a lot of people don't know to do that, and they've just gotten used to it. They think that's the way TVs are supposed to look in the future, but it's not. So I suggest you go in here and turn True Motion off first and foremost. So then going back, apply to all inputs. You can have separate settings for separate inputs based on what you have plugged into them if you want to. But if you apply to all inputs, then that'll just apply it to all the inputs and then reset if you want to go back to factory default. Aspect ratio you can set. There is a picture test, and then you do have a few additional settings. Eye comfort mode. Again, that's to reduce eye strain, but that's going to affect the actual quality of the picture. I would say leave that off. HDMI deep color, you turn that on because that's what you need to have on in order to get that HDR content. So you want to turn that on for any input that you're doing HDR. Instant game response. I'm not a gamer, so I haven't used this, but I assume that if you were playing games, you'd want this on. But again, I'm not a gamer. And then OLED panel settings. So those are just settings to kind of help make sure your OLED TV stays good. So pixel refresher, it's kind of refreshes the pixels when you have had it on. And screen shift, it shifts the screen. You don't notice it. You don't know this is happening. It's very, very, very tiny. You don't know the human eye, but it shifts pixels to help make sure there's no burn in. And then logo luminance, so that kind of has an effect. You can see in the bottom right of my screen right now, there's a time that would be considered a logo, and at the top it says Denim Chromecast. So that's just the luminance of that to help make sure there's no issues. With OLED, burn-in can be an issue. I had my old OLED for 2 years and never saw any semblance of an issue, but you do need to be aware of it. If you're playing games where there's a logo or something in the same spot all the time, that can be an issue. So something to be aware of. Make sure you do your research and do things to protect against that. Sound, I don't use this for sound because I have a surround sound system, so I use that. But you have all your sound settings. Channels, if you are playing channels directly through the TV, I don't use this for that. I don't have an antenna or anything, so that's not something I use. Connection, different connections you can have. Your TV, HDMI device settings for different devices you have connected. You can link to your Google Home for voice control, so you have that. And then you have some general settings, language, time and date, account management, the AI service. That's for personalized recommendations. And you have your safety stuff for parents, and then you have your accessibility. So lots and lots and lots of settings to tweak and make sure you get the best possible picture and use of your TV.